If there is one thing that you would like to change about yourself, what would it be? I've had the privilege and the opportunity to ask this question from thousands of people that I've worked with. And I get varied answers. I get some serious answers like, I wish I were a better speaker. I wish I could think better. I wish I could perform better in my studies. To some very light-hearted answers. The young children say, I wish I had more hours to sleep. Older people say, we wish we could sleep for more hours. People who are single hope that they find someone. People who have found someone hope that they get married. And people who are married hope that they become bachelors again. But if there's one answer that repeats itself, then that is this. I wish I could avoid my negative thoughts as much as I focus on them. I wish I could be a bit more confident. I wish I could stop worrying as much as I do. Now, what is a negative thought? A negative thought is anything that forces you to look at the most unfavorable outcome out of anything that you do. And so I ask these people, you say you can't be positive, right? Who's stopping you? And they say, well, my parents, my friends, my siblings. And sometimes when everyone is encouraging me, I like to demotivate my own self. And then I ask them, you say you can't be positive. What is stopping you? And the room will be as awkwardly silent as it is right now. And I find this fascinating because the human mind is a beautiful machine. You can think of anything. Some of you are sitting out there thinking about dinner. Some of you are thinking about watching a movie. We have the tendency to replay an entire movie in our mind if we've seen it a lot of times, which means that it's most probably a love movie. We have the ability to sing songs in our mind. We have the ability to perform in our mind. We can even think about sitting by the beach with a friend of ours, doing nothing but just smiling. But all that we do is end up thinking about things that may not go right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should always be positive. Just a few months ago, I went to this seminar, a huge room, 200 people out there in the audience, and this guy standing there on the stage and screaming, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And everybody saying, yes, we can do it. And I'm sitting there at the back thinking, what if I don't want to do it? I don't even know what it he's talking about. So I'm not saying that we should always be positive. Negative thoughts help us to perform better. They help us set higher standards for ourselves. But again, it's not something that we should always have. So going back to my question, when I ask those people that you say you cannot be positive, what is stopping you, and they don't have an answer, I don't blame them. Because this is something that has not been taught to us in our homes and in our schools. And that is learning to look at the bright side. I've experienced this firsthand. Let me take you on a journey. Let me take you to my childhood. Don't worry, we won't have to go back a long way. Now, I was born on my birthday. And my life was all planned out. Perform well in studies, settle down, the usual. And I had a lot of pressure to perform well, just like all of you. But our pressure was relatively lesser. In your case, I understand it's really tough. In all the exams, I believe you need to score more than the total marks. But in our case, it was easier. If you perform well, the teacher would throw these grades at you every once in a while. And I was an okay student. I managed to catch those grades. But in the process of catching them, I dropped my own self. Because all this while I was just focusing on the studies and not on the person that I am becoming. I was focusing on IQ and not PQ, which is personality quotient. And this low PQ hit me where it hurt the most. I developed a fear of speaking. And it was explored and exposed in the most unexpected of manners. So when I grew up, after finishing my school, I had to pursue higher studies. Because obviously, I had to get married. And after higher studies, I had to take a choice. So what do I pursue now? So I stumbled upon MBA. Because that's every Indian student's birthright. So I gave all these entrance examinations, CAT, MAT, Snapchat, everything. And I got 90 percentile, which means that I was better than 90% of the students who appeared for these exams. But still, not good enough. Fortunately, heavens be blessed, I get a call from this college in Hyderabad. And they say, all right, Harsimran, you've done really well. You've even earned yourself a scholarship in the entrance examination. So we would like to have you in our campus. I said, wow, that's great. Maybe this is the one. And then further lower in the mail, it stated, you will have to come to our campus and deliver a presentation. Now, the only thing that I knew about a presentation were its spelling. Let me set the context for you. As a child, I rarely spoke. I was afraid of speaking. My conversation started with a hi and finished with a bye, with nothing in between. If somebody said hi to me from a distance, I would look at them and I'll say hi, and I'll keep on staring at them until I go past them. And then I'll say bye. And if it was a girl that said hi, I'll just melt away with the sheer joy of it. So for obvious reasons, presentation was not my forte. But what had to be, had to be. So I went to Hyderabad for the presentation. Now when I reached the campus, they turn by turn, they took us to a separate room. Now if the fear of presentation wasn't big enough, the size of the room made it much worse. It was a huge room, 100-seater. And both these things clubbed and they made me really, really scared. And slowly I could see people coming in from the door. Possible competition, possible students. They were all coming in through the door and they all looked so confident. I could feel as if all of them are watching in slow motion. And it only made me even more scared. And then 3 faculty members came in. How do I know they were faculty? They were the only ones who were smiling. And I'm sitting there thinking, all right, I should have just stayed back home, spent a lot of money, came to this place. What for? What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm not good enough? And I remember this voice at the back of my head, this voice that was saying, Harsimran, Harsimran, who are you kidding? What makes you think you can deliver a presentation? You can't even speak straight. When was the last time you spoke for 5 minutes uninterrupted? You have no experience of speaking, you've never presented, you can't speak straight, you will fumble, your hands will tremble, your legs will shiver, you will make a fool of yourself. Have you ever written yourself off before even starting something? And in that moment of chaos, my eye fell on one of the faculty members. Now that faculty was wearing a khaki colored trouser, the trousers that policemen generally wear. And my mind took me to a movie. The power of thoughts, it can transport you. So my mind took me to a movie, and the movie is a very popular one, Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein. Now the hero of this movie was Madhavan. And what Madhavan does is, he's riding a bike, he jumps a signal, and a constable stops him. Stop, you jumped a signal. You need to pay a challan. And now Madhavan, in the presence of mind, suddenly pumps up his chest and he says, hold on, do you know who I am? I know the commissioner of police. And the constable takes a step back and says, oh sir, I'm sorry, I did not know that. Please forgive me. Please don't tell anyone. And then Madhavan says, well, that's a different story that he doesn't know me. And in that moment, I realized something. I realized that I have never presented before. And that speaking is not my forte. But who knows that? Only me. Do the other students sitting in the room know that this is not my forte? No, they don't. Does the faculty know who's going to evaluate me that this is not my forte? No, they don't. The only person who knows this is me. And if I don't tell anyone about it, no one will ever know. The very fear of the concept that I'm unable to do something lies over here. And if I don't take it out, if I don't share it with someone, I avoid giving it life. And if I don't give it life, eventually I will kill it. This realization that if I go out there and if I present to the best of my ability, using all the hard work and all the efforts that I've put in, and if I go out there and present as if it's a cakewalk for me, I might just end up doing a reasonably good job. And so this realization gave me the courage to go out there and present. And I did a reasonably good job. Okay, to tell you, I made it to the college as well. And this experience taught me two fascinating things. And I use these two fascinating things every single day and every single time I experience a negative thought. The first one, avoid comparison. Sir Isaac Newton, in the month of February in 1675, wrote a letter to his fellow scientist, Robert Hooke. And he said that, "Dear Robert, the reason that I can see further is because I have stood upon the shoulders of giants." Now, if Sir Isaac Newton can be so modest about learning from other people, why can't we? What happens to us every time we see someone who's really good? We start comparing. Okay, that person is good, that person is better, that person is really confident, speaks so well, looks so good, has a lot of money, has a lot of friends. And in that process of competing, we try to be better than them. But the real art does not lie in competition. The real art lies in inspiration. Understand what is it that they are doing well and pick that from them. The learnings that we will have will be amplified. You see, both the sun and the moon will shine when it's their time. You cannot force them to shine when it's not their time. But you must give them the time that they deserve. Every time you compare yourself with someone, you might be comparing your first chapter with someone else's 10th chapter. Instead of fair comparison. So the next time you step into a room and you see someone who's really good, really confident, really smart, don't stand there wishing, "I wish they mess up." No. Instead, hope that you can understand what's working for them, pick it up from them, apply it to yourself, and raise your own standard. The second learning. The second learning is learn to fly. What happens when you go on the upper floors of a building? You get a better perspective of the ground. You get a better view. Similarly, what happens when you fly away from your negative thoughts? You are able to see them with a neutral perspective. And this neutral perspective changes the way you look at them. So I urge you, the next time you have a negative thought, do one thing. I want you all to fly. Not literally. But I want you all to fly 40 years into the future. When you're married, you have a husband, you have a wife, a few kids playing around you. And ask yourself this. The problem that you're seeing right now, would it be as relevant in the future as it is right now? What is it that's stopping you? Is it a poor grade, a failed relationship, maybe failure at work? But what we fail to realize is that it's not the end of the world. If you couldn't get into a college that you want to do, is it the last college on the planet? Of course not. Now don't go to your faculties tomorrow and say that we won't study, we went to future, grades don't matter. At the same time, if it's a job that you want and you don't get it, is it the end of the world? Of course not. Now you may say, easy for you to say, but I'll lose 1 month, 2 months, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months of unemployment, maybe waste a whole year. Do you know the average life expectancy of a person in India? It's 68 years. Now if you take away a few months out of that, does it really matter? How can I say that? Well, the presentation story that I shared with you, before that presentation, I had to lose 1 complete year because I could not get admission into a place in the first year. I have worked for 6 years in the corporate sector before starting my own company, the Thought Foundation, wherein we coach people on their mindset. Do I feel regret that I did not start earlier? Of course not. That's a journey. But you will only be able to apply this if you learn to fly away from your negative thoughts. So if I were to urge you to take a few things from this talk, there would be this. Understand that if you want to grow through something, you have to go through something first. And how do you do that? Very simple. Identify where your negative thoughts are and eliminate them from their source. How? Avoid comparison. And second, open those wings and fly. Because when you do that, not even the sky is the limit for you. Thank you very much.